heal his scars and say these wounds. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgotten. For he today who sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Got a question for you. Who's got it better than us? Nobody! Each other have
What is going on? Welcome to the Big House of CFB Nation. How are you? I'm Andy, and we're back again with another episode, so let's get right into it. Offensive coordinator Kirk Campbell talks about the quarterback room now. At a recent golf outing to bring in donation to the Champions Circle NIL Collective, Campbell was talking about his quarterback room. He said that Alex Orji, if he doesn't win the job, he'll still have packages and he'll be using every single game. He said that Orji is one of the best 11 on offense, but needs to find out if he's the best quarterback in the room. Now, if he doesn't win the job, he'll find ways to get him on the field, kind of like last year, with some packages for Wildcat. If he does lose that job, which I honestly don't think he will. Expect a lot of packages, that he comes in, kind of bring a little spark to the offense. But at the end of the day, I really do think that Orji will win that job. Now, the plan for the offense is to have creative packages and to get the playmakers involved and have the ball in their hands. Now, he specifically mentioned Donovan Edwards, Khalil Mullings, and Colson Loveland. Now, with what Campbell said next was he mentioned some guys that I kind of are interesting as kind of the next pecking order, and that is fellow tight end Marlon Klein, and then wide receivers Samaj Morgan and Tyler Morris. Now, during that NIL event, safety Rod Moore, he was there, and he was talking about his injury and his plans for the upcoming season. So he had ACL surgery in April, and he's been recovering. He's on the mend. And he said that the goal is to kind of be back by the playoffs should the Wolverines get that far. Now, defensive backs coach Lamar Morgan said that he's remained positive and good spirits. He's been teaching the younger guys and the guys who have just come in recently and guys who will have to step up in his absence. With Moore, he specifically has kind of been mentoring cornerback Amir Hall. He's coming from Albany, and safety Wesley Walker coming in from Tennessee. Now, he's been helping those two get acclimated. And, more mentioned that safety Makari Page as a player who will break out this season. In an earlier episode, we kind of mentioned how Will Johnson said the same thing about how Page could be an All-American type of player. And then Moore would go on to talk about Jair Hill and Zeke Berry as two other guys that can break out in the secondary. Now, with Hill, he will occupy the other boundary corner role, and then Berry will take over at safety, and then he will move inside when the Wolverines bring in a hybrid package on defense. Now, we've had Big Ten Media Days the past 3 days, and today was Michigan's day. And Sharon Moore chose Donovan Edwards, fullback / tight end Max Bredesen, and cornerback Makari Page. The reasoning behind those three players and the reason why Sharon Moore chose them was because he wanted seniors. He wanted players who had been with the program for 4 years or longer, guys who have been through the adversity, leaders, guys who have been through the ups and the downs, and guys who are going to earn a degree at the university, true Michigan men. And with Donovan Edwards, when he was on the podium, he was asked about the difference in coaching, and he said there's nothing different. Personalities are different, but the same philosophy. And then when it was time for Max Bredesen to kind of have his time, he said it's been seamless. There's no real difference. The coaches might have, different kind of personalities. One's a little bit more high strung, the other one's a little bit more laid back. But at the end of the day, it's the same at Michigan. Now, with Coach Moore, he then took the podium and he simply won the room with the first question. The first question was this, quote, I wanted to just ask you, obviously, coming off a national championship, you guys go from the hunters to being the hunted. How do you adjust that mentally, now that you are all the hunted, to be able to achieve your goals and be able to go further during the season? His response was perfect. For quote, for us, it's about getting better every day. And we're always hunting, regardless of people are coming after us. We're coming after them. So for us, we're not in the mentality of sitting back and waiting to see what goes on. We're going to attack our process. We're going to work our tails off to make sure we're doing the best things we know that are possible in the way we know to be successful. Coach Moore made an impact at Big Ten Media Day, and he'll make an impact at the barbecue event. Now, the barbecue event that's coming up is going to host 60 recruits from this class, the 25 class, 26 class, even the 27 class. And, for the 2025 class, we have five-star wide receiver Jerome Miles. He's going to be making his first visit to Ann Arbor. You also have four-star wide receiver Andrew Marsh. He's going to be making his third visit on campus this year. And so he's also made 4 total. So, these are some kind of recruits to kind of close in on. Hopefully they'll be able to do that. We mentioned last week that 4-star corner Jaden Sanders from Texas will be making the trip up there. One interesting note is 4-star defensive lineman Nate Marshall. He canceled his official visit to Auburn to attend this barbecue. He's made 4 previous visits to Ann Arbor. That is a big one coming up because Michigan was not expecting him to come for the barbecue. Now, of the guys that are committed that will be there will be 4-star quarterback Carter Smith. He's been kind of recruiting some guys for this upcoming 25 class. 4-star tight end Andrew Olesh, and then Eli Owens as well. And then kind of the big coup for the 26 class is 4-star quarterback commit Brady Hart. He's a top 10 quarterback of the class. He's been actively recruiting all of these guys to kind of come to Michigan. He's going to be at the barbecue. He was able to kind of get other guys to kind of come to the barbecue for the 26 and a 27 class. So it will be nice to kind of see him up close and personal, to kind of mingle with the other recruits, to try to get them to Ann Arbor. And for me, I'm telling you guys, Brady Hart, he will be the next great quarterback at Michigan. Fellow 26 class that are also coming in will be running back Savion Hyder. He's made 1 visit so far to Ann Arbor. He's a top 5 running back in the class. 4-star running back Javian Osborne. It'll be his first visit. He's a top 5 running back in the class. He's been linked to Texas a lot. We also have running back Shahan Alston. He's the number 4 player in Ohio. He'll be in for the barbecue. And then a couple of 4-star wide receivers, CJ Sadler, who is the number 1 wide receiver in Michigan, who's made 6 visits. He's from their backyard. It will be important to kind of lock up the number 1 receiver in your state to keep him home. And then the other 4-star wide receiver, Tristan Keys, who's a top 100 recruit. But overall, 60 recruits will be at the barbecue. A lot of players will be coming in, and hopefully some future Wolverines. Now, from the future to the near future, let's talk about Game 3 preview, and that is going to be Arkansas State. Now, after a tough matchup with Texas, Michigan does kind of get a buffer game with Arkansas State, and this should be a good game from that health standpoint. That Texas game is going to take a lot out of everybody, and it'll be good to kind of have that little safety net with Arkansas State. They should be able to get their backups in probably by the mid third quarter, if not earlier. They can kind of clean up any lingering issues from the Texas game. Gain some confidence no matter the result of the Texas game. It's always good to kind of have that non-con be a little bit on the easier side, especially when you schedule a team like Texas. Now, this will be a good game for the defense to kind of get some unique defensive packages in, to kind of have some live reps to kind of see how it'll kind of shake out instead of in the mornings with practice. Now, with Arkansas State, they did finish first in the Sun Belt Conference last year, and they do return a good core on offense. They have an exciting young quarterback in Jalen Raynor, and as a true freshman last year, he took over the job and absolutely won it. In his first start, he rushed for 97 yards and accounted for 5 touchdowns. In his second start, he threw for 383 yards and had 6 passing touchdowns. He is a very electric quarterback. His top 2 wide receivers returned, Corey Rucker and Courtney Johnson. With Johnson, he led the team in touchdowns last year with 7, and then their leading rusher also returns as Jaquez Cross has 716 yards last year. Now, I do expect the Red Wolves to put on a good fight, in the first quarter, but at the end of the day, Michigan should win this by 3 scores, pull away as the game goes on. Arkansas State, they're a fun team. They just don't have the depth. They can't compete with Michigan for 60 minutes, but the player to watch is Jalen Raynor. He's a very electric player, very fun player who I really believe will end up in the Power Four in the next couple of years. Now that we've talked about game 3, I kind of want to talk about the recruit of the day, and that is 4-star running back Donovan Johnson. He is 6 foot, 210 pounds, and he chose Michigan over Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee, USC, and Ohio State. Now, he attends Powerhouse IMG Academy. He tore his ACL in 2023, and he just recently got cleared. After all his tests, he's good to go for the upcoming season. He did spend all the offseason in Georgia rehabbing, getting right, getting his mind and body right. Now, with Johnson, he said one of the main factors was the loyalty that running backs coach Tony Alford kind of showed throughout the entire process. He was saying that a lot of the schools kind of, kind of backed off him when he did tear his ACL, and they would every once in a while check on him, to kind of see how his progress was. But he said that Tony Alford, never stopped with the loyalty, always checked in on him, always checked up on him. And the one thing that I said about the Michigan staff is that culture of family and that atmosphere. And Tony Alford brings that in spades. And that is going to be one of the best hires that will go down in the Sharon Moore coaching legacy. Now, IMG Academy is back in session, and Johnson is now back on the IMG campus in Florida as they prepare for the 2024 season. So, who is Donovan Johnson? He is a former track athlete, a very good athlete to be that. He does have good combination of size and speed, and he does show good wiggle. Now, he does have good contact balance. He is a physical power runner. I do like that. I do like that combination of the physicality along with the speed. Now, it'll be interesting for the upcoming season. He'll technically be about 16 months removed from the ACL. He should be better next spring when he's, 2 years removed. But, this season for IMG Academy, they are a powerhouse that does like to run the ball. So I kind of want to see how he does this upcoming season. If IMG will kind of slowly bring him in the fold and get about 8-10 carries a game, or they kind of give him the main workload. Now, he does have good potential, and hopefully he'll get back to his old form. But I am looking forward to watching IMG Academy live in person. Now, I want to talk about Wesley Walker today. He is a 3-star in the composite. He was part of that 2019 class, and he was the 46th ranked safety in that class. Originally, he did begin his career at Georgia Tech from 2019 through 2021. He transferred to Tennessee for the 2022 and 23 season. And initially, he was going to transfer to Kentucky, but he did flip to Michigan. Now, with Walker, he comes to Ann Arbor with a good amount of experience. So for his career, he's played 2,237 snaps, over 500 snaps in each of the past 4 seasons. And in 2022, that was his best season overall. Now, the 6'1", 200-pound safety, he is a versatile chess piece. He did begin his career at nickel corner, and then he kind of transitioned over to safety. Now, with Walker, he does have very good instincts, and I do like that about him. He does cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time with that good closing speed. He shows good skills for the position. He is good in the box as well. He is a willing supporter in run defense. He's not afraid to get dirty. He is a pretty good tackler. Now, Sometimes he does take bad angles when he makes his tackles, but other than that, that can be resolved with coaching. And overall, he's a player whose experience should allow him to win that rod more position. He can play both safety positions, and what that allows for Michigan is that allows Makari Page to kind of move inside, move to the slot, or kind of cover that detached tight end, and then Walker can be that deep safety. With Walker and that versatility, that's exactly what the Wolverines needed when Moore got hurt. And with Walker, he did chose Michigan over other programs that kind of guarantee him a starting spot. So that is something to kind of take note. Now, what should we expect for the upcoming season? Communication will be key for the secondary, and there'll be a lot of switch offs. And, I'm expecting with this Wink Martindale defense that the versatility that he brings with that switch off, it'll be key. Both him and Page, they can kind of work together. They kind of work in the box, cover the slot, do whatever the Wolverines need to do. And then the Wolverines can also play that hybrid 4-2-5 with that third box safety. Now, what I do really like about this is that the blitz schemes that can be had, if this secondary can get right, and Walker is the guy that he's kind of advertised to be, it'll be really fun because if you think about it, if they're able to bring in those unique packages, and with having Will Johnson occupying his side, the safeties really only have about 75% of the field to kind of worry about. So that is something to kind of watch early on the season, how the back half of the safety, kind of does. And, if there is good communication and good play right there. Now, our throwback player of the day is John Navarre. He was a Wolverine from 2000 to 2003, a 3-year starter, and his best season was as a senior. He completed 59.2% of his passes. He threw for 3,331 yards, had 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and he led the Wolverines to the Rose Bowl in 2003. Now, he'll be remembered for leading the largest deficit in Wolverine history. They were down 21 to Minnesota, and they came back to win 38-35. Now with Navarre, he was selected in the 7th round of the 2004 NFL draft, and he was selected by the Arizona Cardinals. He would go on to have a 4-year NFL career, and he also made one start. He spent time with the Cardinals and then with the Indianapolis Colts. John Navarre now currently works in upper management at a steel company in the Midwest, and he enjoys a private life. And with John Navarre, he can say that he was a 3-year starting quarterback at the University of Michigan, something very few people can say. And John Navarre is a true Michigan man. Now, that concludes our episode, and I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Welcome to the Big House. I want to give a special thank you to Dwight Peoples for the intro, Nino Brown for producing, the entire CFB Nation family. Until next week, who's got it better than the CFB Nation?
Got a question for you. Who's got it better than us? No way!